Hi guys, and welcome back to class. Today we are going to pick up from where we left off from our yesterday's lesson. First, we're going to start off with describing qualities. We're going to describe qualities that we associate with a soldier. So for instance, a quality that you might associate with a police officer is that they are quick to be able to resolve a conflict. Or maybe a quality of a doctor that you would associate with a doctor would be that they are very smart, or maybe they have a lot of money. A quality that you may associate with a teacher would be that they are college educated. They went to school. So consider a soldier. What type of qualities would you associate with a story? Think of a soldier. Think about a story that you've heard from the past, or a movie that you've watched, or maybe even people that you know to have served or have served in the military. For this lesson, our focusing question task is: how did the conditions on the front affect soldiers? We are going to be in our wonder stage, and we're asking ourselves, what do I notice and wonder about the soldiers in All Quiet on the Western Front? So, looking at All Quiet on the Western Front, a front is the place or region where there is fighting and physical conflict during a war. So let's analyze the front. What kind of place do you think the front would be? What do you know about the word conditions? What might be some synonyms for conditions in this context? In your focusing question sequence, you will begin reading the novel of All Quiet on the Western Front, and we're going to explore the ways this novel represents the conditions on the front and the experiences of soldiers who fought in World War I. So, how did you respond to the type of place that the front is? Now look at the title of the book. The title of the book is All Quiet on the Western Front. What do you notice about and wonder about the title? Now let's look and analyze the preface of the book. Now the preface of a book refers to the paragraph on the page before chapter 1. So, I'm going to read the preface for you. This book is to be neither an accusation nor a confession, and least of all an adventure, for death is not an adventure to those who stand face to face with it. It will try simply to tell of a generation of men who, even though they may have escaped shells, were destroyed by the war. So now that I've read aloud the preface for you, what information does that paragraph provide that you wouldn't have known if you went straight to page 1? So remember, the purpose of a preface is to state the intention of the article or the novel. The word intention means a clear and fixed decision for a particular plan of action, or a particular reason why something is going to be told. So let's think. Why would an author state the intention of his book up front rather than readers figuring it out as they read? As someone about to read this novel, what's your response to the preface? When you read the preface, what did you think? So now I am going to read aloud on chapter 1 from "We are at rest 5 miles behind" to "synthetic honey to each man." Then I'm going to want you to reread the first paragraph to yourself and look at any unknown words that you don't know from the article or from the novel. So here's my read aloud. Chapter 1. We are at rest 5 miles behind the front. Yesterday we were relieved, and now our bellies are full of beef and haricot beans. We are satisfied and at peace. Each man has another mess tin full for the evening, and what is more, there is a double ration of sausage and bread. That puts a man in fine trim. We have not had such luck as this for a long time. The cook, with his carroty head, is begging us to eat. He beckons with his ladle to everyone that passes, and spoons him out a great dollop. He does not see how he can empty his stew pot in time for coffee. Tejan and Muller have produced 2 wash basins and have them filled up to the brim as a reserve. In Tejan, this is veracity. In Muller, it is foresight. Where Tejan puts it, all is a mystery, for he is and always will be as thin as a rake. What's more important still is the issue of double ration of smokes. So here I have read. I want you to go back, look at that section that I've just read, and define any unknown words that you may or may not know what they are inside of the discussion board. Then ask yourself, what do you notice and wonder about the first paragraph? What's happening there? What's going on? Now I'm going to read a little bit of page 2 for you. I'm going to start from what's more important still, which is the first paragraph, to a long time stretch, which is the last paragraph at the bottom of page 2. What's more important still is the issue of a double ration of smokes. 10 cigars, 20 cigarettes, and 2 squids of chew per man. Now that is decent. I have exchanged my chewing tobacco with Kaczynski for his cigarettes, which means I have 40 altogether. That's enough for a day. It is true we have no right to this windfall. The Prussian is not so generous. We have only a miscalculation to thank for it. 14 days ago, we had to go up and relieve the front line. It was fairly quiet on our sector, so the quartermaster, who remained in the rear, had requisitioned the usual quantity of rations and provided for the full company of 150 men. But on the last day, an astonishing number of English heavies opened up on us with high explosive drumming ceaselessly on our position, so that we suffered severely and came back only 80 strong. Last night we moved back and settled down to get a good sleep for once. Kaczynski is right when he says it would not be such a bad war if only one could get a little more sleep. In the line we have had next to none, and 14 days is a long time at one stretch. So now I want you guys to think to yourselves, does page 2 help develop any of your noticing? Does it resolve any of your wondering or bring up any new questions? I also want you to know that oppression refers to German leadership, and these soldiers are German. Now I want you guys to get to know the narrator. When I read these 2 paragraphs to you guys, someone was talking. I want you guys to annotate for all explicit facts about the narrator on pages 1 through 4. And you're going to record this in your journal. You're also going to put this inside of the discussion board. When I talk about explicit facts, guys, I mean, what do you learn about the narrator as you read? What type of person is he? What do we know about him? Now let's look and think about who are Paul's friends. There were a couple of terms and words of people that came up in this text. So as you continue to read All Quiet on the Western Front, I want you to track what happens to Paul and his friends. Remember, keeping track of an individual character supports your understanding of what's happening in a long text. There are many characters here, guys, and you're going to need to know what each one of them are doing, saying, their personality traits, and their interactions with one another. Because you guys are at home, things are going to be a little bit different for you all online. You are going to create a status report. A status report is a report on the current situation of something. So basically, you're going to take a character and you're going to fill in the information as you go along. So for example, Hi is a character inside of the book. So in my first column, it says characteristics. What is he like? How does the narrator describe him? What is his history? What did he do before the war? So I wrote, Hi is a 19-year-old peat digger who is large and has big fists. And I find this out on page 3 because the narrator tells me that he's 19 and that he's a year-old peat digger and he's a large man and he has big fists. And I'm going to put where I found that. What happens to him? What activities does he participate in? On page 3, Hi is in line for beans. He's trying to get some food. So I would write that here. For my responses, how does he react to what happens to him or others around him? What does he say, and what is his mood or emotional state? Hi does not speak up or bully the cook like some of the other men. So this is something that I would write down when I'm trying to get a status report over the character Hi. If you have a different character, you would just continue to follow along up underneath, adding those different characters. You will see this document called status report inside of Schoology for you to answer these questions and create a term sheet of what's happening with your characters. So, based on your character, what is an important detail or significant observation that you've made about your character? For those of you online, I'm going to assign you guys about 2 to 3 characters to complete a status report over. And then you will answer this question. Now listen to me read pages 4 through 7. I'm going to start from our gang formed the head to synthetic honey to each man. Our gang formed the head of the queue before the cookhouse. We were growing impatient, for the cook paid no attention to us. Finally, Kosinski called to him, Say, Henrich, open up the soup kitchen. Anyone can see the beans are done. He shook his head sleepily. You must all be there first. You must all be there first, Tejan grinned. We are all here. The sergeant cook still took no notice. That may do for you, he said, but where are the others? They won't be fed by you today. They're either in the dressing station or pushing up daisies. The cook was quite disconcerted as the facts dawned on him. He was staggered. And I have cooked for 150 men. Crope poked him in the ribs. Then for once we'll have enough. Come on, begin. Suddenly a vision came over Tejan. His sharp, mousy features began to shine. His eyes grew small with cunning, and his jaws twitched, and he whispered hoarsely, Man, then you've got bread for 150 men, too, eh? The sergeant cook nodded absent-minded and bewildered. Tejan seized him by the tunic. And sausage? Ginger nodded again. Tejan's chaps quivered. Tobacco, too? Yes, everything. Tejan beamed. What a bean feast. That's all for us. Each man gets, wait a bit, yes, particularly 2 issues. Then Ginger stirred himself and said, That won't do. We got excited and began to crowd around. Why won't that do, you old carrot? Demanded Kosinski. 80 men can't have what is meant for 150. We'll soon show you, growled Muller. I don't care about the stew, but I can only issue rations for 80 men, persisted Ginger. Kosinski got angry. You might be generous for once. You haven't drawn food for 80 men. You've drawn it for the second company. Good. Let's have at it then. We are the second company. We began to jostle the fellow. No one felt kindly toward him, for it was his fault that the food often came up to us in the line too late and cold. Under shell fire, he wouldn't bring his kitchen up near enough so that our soup carriers had to go much further than those of the other companies. Now Bulk of the first company is a much better fellow. He He is as fat as a hamster in the winter, but he trundles his pots when it comes to the right up to the very front line. We were in just the right mood, and there would certainly have been a dust-up if our company commander had not appeared. He informed himself of the dispute and only remarked, "Yes, we did have the heavy losses yesterday." He glanced into the Dixie. The beans looked good. Ginger nodded. "Cooked with meat and fat?" The lieutenant looked at us. We knew what we were thinking. He knew what we were thinking, and he knew many other things too, because he came to the company as a non-com and was promoted from the ranks. He lifted the lid from the Dixie again and sniffed. Then passing on, he said, "Bring me a plate full. Serve out the rations. We can do with them." Ginger looked sheepish as Tajan danced around him. "It doesn't cost you anything. Anyone would think the quartermaster's store belonged to him. And now get on with it, you old blubber sticker, and don't you miscount either." "You be hanged," spat out Ginger. When things get beyond him, he throws up the sponge altogether. He just goes to pieces, and as if to show that all things were equal to him, of his own free will be issued in addition 1/2 pound of synthetic honey to each man. So now, guys, I want you to go back and reread those pages, and I want you to take notes and annotate for how each character reacts to the incident with the cook. Complete the incident and responses column on your status report. So here, right here, it says, how does he react to what happens to him or others around him? What does he say? What is his mood or emotional state? Right here where it says incidences and responses, the incident is when they are in line trying to get food inside of the cafe. What happens to each of the characters? What activities do they participate in? How do they react? What do they say? And what is their mood? I must let you guys know that disconcerted means to feel baffled, confused, or generally uneasy about a particular thing or situation. What is the cook reacting to, and why is he disconcerted? Why is the cook disconcerted? You will answer this inside of a discussion board inside of Schoology. Our content framing question for this lesson is, what do I notice and wonder about the soldiers in All Quiet on the Western Front? Note that we've read up to page 7, so I need to know what it is that you guys notice and wonder about the soldiers up until page 7 of All Quiet on the Western Front. Then complete and submit your exit ticket. Choose a character, another one that you may not have recorded from your status report, and describe the most important qualities of their personality. For tonight's homework, guys, I want you to reread pages 1 through 7 of All Quiet on a Western Front. Let's go ahead and move on into our vocabulary deep dive for today. I want us to look at the word commission. A commission is the order that confers officers rank in the military. So when you are in a commission, you have a particular order of your ranking when you're in the military. So who is the highest ranking soldier, and how do you know? From the book. And why might the military use precise titles for a rank? Why are there rankings inside of the military? So I want you guys to complete part 1 and part 2 of the document called Handout 6A Military Vocabulary. Here's part 1 and here's part 2. You're going to find this inside of your, here's part 2. You're going to find this inside of your workbooks. Think, even though it may seem that the military has its own language, it is important to not become overwhelmed or frustrated by these unknown words, guys. Many words have very simple meanings that sometimes you can infer by using context clues. Many times they do not need to know the definition of the term to understand the big picture. So I want you guys to complete parts 1 and 2 of the document Handout 6A that is inside of your workbooks. Then answer the question, what can you do if you get stuck on an unknown word that seems important to a passage? All right, guys, that's going to be it for today's lesson. If you guys need any help, please make sure that you come to office hours. I'll see you soon. Bye.